This is a 1947 37-passenger GMC Silverside bus, model PD-3751.
Hi, I'm Tony Kuykendall, Vehicle Maintenance Manager with Southwest Transit.
And Tony, give us a little history about this vehicle and tell us about how you were involved in its bringing it back to life and its overall restoration.
Sure. This originally was a Greyhound bus. It ran a Hibbing through Omaha type route, highway passenger route. We purchased this bus back in around 2000, and when we purchased it, it was a camper conversion that somebody had started and had not finished. So we started pretty much from gutted it all out and started over essentially, and a couple of years into it we purchased another vehicle that had an interior, and we started patching the two buses together.
Now, interesting, you said there aren't many, from what you understand, there aren't many of these buses around, but you did say something about, you heard where there was maybe a mini collection even in Australia.
That's what I was told. I was told from a Greyhound historian out of Ohio that there was a small collection of maybe, I can't remember, I thought he said a half a dozen or more were owned by a single collector in Australia.
So a lot of these were turned in, obviously, like you said, into some type of RV, a camper, and this one had been as well. But now tell me, what kind of shape was the, I guess they call them a donor vehicle nowadays, that second vehicle. What kind of shape was it in when you bought it?
Well, we got lucky because the donor vehicle's interior was really nice, but the exterior was really neglected. So we were lucky enough to get one with a decent exterior and one with a decent interior.
So you were able to cobble those two together and take that nice original interior and put it back into this vehicle. Now, say original, we'll get some shots of this, but it has been recovered, but the frames and the outline and everything that you see, yes, even the overhead bins and stuff, those are original from another 47 bus.
They are indeed, yep.
That's so amazing. Now, tell us some of the things that you personally had worked on, and if you want, we can walk around the
sure,
side of the vehicle as well.
A lot of little things I've been involved in working on. We've changed making things like I've made these plates to make these front turn signals. They're not original. The original flat glass ones are gone and unavailable, unobtainable. Tried in vain to find them. We
were talking about that earlier. It's not like you could have just called up LMC Truck or National Parts Depot, or even gone down to Napa to say, hey, I need a lens, or I need, well, and I'll let you tell about the seal that you were talking about earlier, an oil seal, but I'll let you talk about that in a moment too. But so a lot of these things you had to find a more modern application and make it work? Absolutely. Okay. Either find a more modern application or fabricate it ourselves. We've fabricated a lot of our own parts for this bus. I mean, we've tried to make this bus as original as possible. Yeah. I mean, we've went to great lengths to make it as original as we can. Okay. But we've definitely had to fabricate some parts and do some parts. I've done a lot of work to it myself. Done a lot of things like aligning panels so they open and close the doors. I mean, when we got it, the doors hung really badly and wouldn't seal and wouldn't shut. And really? Okay. And then we come here to the behind here is the AC unit. The AC unit, it was an old engine that I went through the whole engine and made brackets and made, in fact, a water pump. It's an old Continental gasoline engine that runs this AC unit, and it needed a water pump. Okay, so wait a minute, it's not just a compressor driven by a belt off of the diesel engine out there? No, this is a direct drive gasoline engine, directly drives a AC compressor, and the gasoline Continental engine needed a water pump. And I searched for months, and eventually I had to make plates and brackets and use an electric water pump. So okay. So a little modernized, but you only went to that when you couldn't find or fabricate the original. Absolutely, right? We tried at every turn to use as much original parts as we could, but we have had to do some fabrication. Now I want you to do a correction for me. Earlier I did mention that these were polished stainless steel panels on the side, which if you just a novice, kind of like I guess I am with this bus, I misstated. Tell us what these panels actually are. These are anodized aluminum, although in this application we've removed the anodization Okay.
Only out of necessity, because the original anodization was in such poor shape that it was actually, the panels were starting to pit and were scratched badly due to the poor condition of the anodization. So we had it removed, and there is talk of trying to, in the future, get it re-anodized, but we have not been able to find somebody that could do it.
Okay, because it's not anodized then, so you have to polish this now and keep it coated or waxed or whatever?
Yeah, about every month we hand wash it, hand wax it.
Okay.
And then if it gets wet, I should say if it's allowed to drip dry like rain,
right,
then we have to go through and actually re-polish it with aluminum polish.
Ah, okay.
So it's a bit of a job to keep it looking this nice.
Now wait a minute though. Why would this get wet? It's just not just a showroom piece?
Oh well, we try to use this piece a few times a year on the road to give people a ride in our area and free rides in our area on the bus. I mean, no, we try to make this a community thing. We want to share this bus with everybody.
So that this is actually an in-serviceable bus that will actually transport people around, and you do it actually as a nostalgic thing. I know you've had it at the state fair, you've had it at car shows, but you actually do run it on some routes occasionally, again, to give people that nostalgic feel.
We do, yeah. We run it on an express run. We stop at the station and bring people downtown and back to the station. Absolutely.
Now, do they know that? Did they sign up for this bus, or do you shock them when you pull up in this instead of one of the new modern coaches?
Nope, it works both ways. I know we have advertised it in the past, but we don't always advertise it. The one thing that we do for people though is we do trail it with a normal route bus. So we do give the passenger a choice. Do you want to ride this bus or do you want to ride your normal bus? And believe it or not, this bus fills up every time.
No, I believe you. I was going to say, I mean, why even? That's not even an option to me. I would be fighting to get in because you can only hold 37. What's your newer bus's hold capacity? 57 passengers. Okay. 56, 57 passengers. Okay, so this is 37, so you're going to have 20 disappointed riders that are going to have to ride the new bus. I see a little exhaust pipe here, and I'm imagining that is not for the diesel. That must be
for the gasoline Continental engine that runs the AC.
That's your tailpipe for your air conditioning, because again, yeah, it's an engine on its own that runs
and again, that's fabricated because the original dumped it right under the bus. So
is that right?
So of course we obviously didn't have the original exhaust and it's not available. We wanted to dump it out the side further behind where the passengers sit.
Well, now tell me this too. You did say you guys did have maintenance manuals and things like that, so that must have been fairly easy to go back and figure out what things were and replace them and whatnot.
It's funny you bring that up because I always think that the original maintenance or the original parts manual for sure it is more of a nostalgia piece, because there's not a part in there that you can convert today to a part that you can purchase.
So on a wheel bearing you need this cap seal or whatever or wheel bearings. You can't just run down to Napa and with a number on the seal or the bearing and see you cross references.
No, you
actually said you had an oil seal you pulled out, it had no numbers on it.
That's right.
It wasn't even SWK or SGK or one of the manufacturers.
It wasn't even. I couldn't even tell if it was an SK or a National or a Stemco or anything. Right. It came with nothing. No stamping for a brand and no part number.
So how did
just
you do
a seal?
That? You just took the seal down.
I had to remove the seal and start sizing it, down to the thousandths of an inch, and get a measurement of a seal that would work, and then I had to get one that would work for oil. So it's quite the endeavor. I mean,
where a 15-minute pull and replace could have turned into a couple of days or better.
And it did.
Yeah, trying to find, because you can't just throw anything back on there.
No, and anything you do find, it generally has to be special ordered if you're lucky enough to find something that you can convert it to.
Even close.
It's not on the shelf anywhere,
Wow.
Even a wheel bearing, it took me 2 weeks to get one from a bearing supplier across the country,
Well, you were saying something about one of the axle shafts or the axle housing that you had to do?
Yeah, the axle housing end was so worn out, and prior to us getting the bus, it had been repaired very poorly.
Okay.
Somebody had taken a stick welder to it and just pitted it really badly. It took a grinder and tried to clean it up. So it was in such bad shape that we actually had to have a company axle master come out and remove the end of the axle housing and build a new one to put in there. It was unrepairable.
Oh boy, oh boy. And how long did something like that take then?
Week and a half.
Yeah. So this was, I mean, we talked about earlier that it took quite a while, and I asked you when you got it restored, and your response was, "Is it finished yet?" or something like that.
No, my response is it's never finished, and it never will be finished. I mean, there's always ideas and things we'd like to keep doing to this bus. I mean, there's always things that we want to do that, we'll get it out there a couple times, and the driver will say, that horn is really hard to push, or this or that, and it just always is spurring new ideas of things that we can try to do. But again, trying to keep it as original as we can.
Right. Well, let's take a walk around back and let's see the engine compartment you've got up. And I quick wanted to show, this is the emergency exit door as well. So that's really kind of cool. I know you were saying when you take it to car shows, you will typically open this up so folks can come in the front door, walk all the way through, see the whole interior, then exit out the rear. But that would have been, of course, an emergency exit door at the time.
Yep.
Now this is a heck of an engine here, and I'll get you all the details that'll be in the description below of its horsepower and torque. But that is one huge chunk of metal there, moving another huge chunk of metal,
much bigger than the inline gasoline 6-cylinder Chevrolet or GM engine of its time.
And of course, it's the way it's mounted here as well. It's no longer longitudinal,
transverse mounted engine. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit, what is the V drivetrain? The V, what was it?
Well, the V transmission here, that's pretty hard to see, but the idea of this is, with this engine turned sideways, this engine takes up so much room that we're left with this much room to fit a transmission in here, and we're driving the rear wheels, which are up there. So we've got a differential facing this way, and an engine facing this way, and a transmission facing this way. So to link these two together, we've taken the transmission, it comes out and it angles in a V, and then the drive comes out of the side of the transmission.
Which just seems to be so counterintuitive, because that's not how we do things today, but it worked, and it worked in great masses on this bus.
And the 70 plus years of it being in existence, and still, I mean, of course we've done a lot of work, but just the fact that it's as solid as it is and it's as whole as it is after 70 years is a testament to how well it really was built.
Well, in saying that, I mean, obviously you do, you said you do a 128-point check on your new coaches, and you do the same on this when you take it out on a service run to actually haul passengers. Commensurately though, is this any more, does this require any more maintenance than your new coaches, or your new coaches require more maintenance?
I would say that the new coach requires more maintenance, but this requires different maintenance.
Okay.
Like this has manual slack adjusters, which mean the brakes need to be adjusted manually.
Is that right?
And after in the 90s, we went to auto slacks in the industry. So the newer buses have an automatic slack adjuster that adjusts itself. Now the manual slack works every bit as well as the automatic slack adjuster.
Right.
It just needs to be manually adjusted.
Okay. All right. So how many hours does it take when you do the wash, and when you also then do the polish? Is that a couple of day job, or?
No. I've got a guy that usually does it, and then I stand over his shoulder, so I'm kind of meticulous about it.
Okay.
But no, it's a 2 or 3 hour job for one guy to do a good job. I mean, we do use a electric buffer and stuff with the compound. It's not all. When I say by hand, I guess I just mean that we're
I understand.
We're physically doing it, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
Now this had 3 storage compartments, and it's underneath storage, like I said earlier. It does have a central tunnel for brake lines and hoses and things like that, so it's not like the modern coaches where they go all the way across.
One of the old military guys from World War II who rode on this bus told me a pretty interesting story.
Okay.
He said on his way back from the military, he said that they would pack these buses so full that they would, even though they had 37 seats, they'd put 45, 50 soldiers in these buses.
Way, yes.
And he said the only way you could sleep was in the overhead compartment.
Is that right?
So he said the overhead rack is where they would lay and sleep as they drove down the road.
Again, you were saying, I was asking, I love that you can see the kind of the Art Deco details here too. It's very period and very, very business-like. There's not a lot of comfort up here in the command center where the driver's going to be, but he did have a couple of fans to circulate the air. Did have a visor, and now where is your shifter on this? Is it?
It's on the tree. It's on the tree. Yep. Hold on the tree.
How about that? And it's
4 forward gears in reverse.
Okay.
So it's 4 forward gears in reverse. On the tree, yep, parking brake, old style parking brake. Yeah. Underneath the seat here is where the driver received AC and heat flow. These are just fans for the excessive heat for the driver. Okay. Neat feature for the 47 that no one sees today and probably won't even believe. Okay. It has air operated wipers. But if I had a problem with my air operated wiper, I need to have ingenuity. I could take this and manually operate the driver's side.
Okay.
Wiper.
So you know this.
Yeah,
had a fail-safe.
Well, you have to remember this thing was designed to be an over-the-road bus, and if you were in Omaha, or you were halfway to Omaha back in the 40s or early 50s, no one sent help for you in a half an hour. You know, it wasn't like today. You know, I would imagine you'd be there quite a while if you actually broke down. Okay. We talked about with all the manual stuff, and our driver had a lot more responsibility back then than today. What I mean by that is he had to really know the vehicle that he operated, you know.
Oh yeah, you were telling us. What was it about the and the valves?
Yeah, it's just like this vehicle, the driver had to choose if he wanted heat or air conditioning. He couldn't have both with the flip of a switch. So if he wanted air conditioning, he had to manually go back to the engine bay and shut water valves off to the front compartment area here to get air conditioning. And if he needed heat, he had to open those valves. And if he had them open, obviously he couldn't get AC. So, I mean, the driver had to actually know how to work parts of this vehicle. Today, everything is taken for granted as being fairly automatic with the exception of, you know, actually driving the vehicle.
Right. Now, you know, we're talking about, I love these seats, and you had them recovered, like you said, but it is the original frames, and then the overhead bins and everything. Even when you went to the headliner,
the seat numbering is the tags, even all the seat numbering is original tags and an original seat and original panels and lighting and.
Okay, so I do see the lever there to recline the seats a little bit. So
yeah, it's not much of a recline. It's not like today's seats in the bus where someone can really lean back. But if we look at the compartment, I mean, there's a couple bigger ones, but I mean, people laid in these.
Well, I guess you know you came back from the war and you were headed home, and you just wanted a little shut eye. It was a lot nicer place than sleeping in a foxhole. So I'm sure you were pretty darn happy about it. And I didn't see you've got the lights in here as well. That's kind of, is that what this is?
Yep.
These are.
Yep. Oh, these are luggage lights.
Okay. And the bins have a little bit of an angle to them, or a cant back to them, so when you did round a corner, the stuff doesn't lurch out.
Yep.
But that's really cool. But again, one of these things too, no modern conveniences on this, because I look and you can see all the way out the back, there's no bathroom back there.
Nope.
Where, you know, a lot of them, especially the highway coaches now, they have the facilities and they have so many other things. Well, I mean, I know you've got the overhead lights, you got the overhead vents that you, just like on an airplane, all that you have on modern buses, and you see, I can get up under here, you've got lights. So all of this was original as well, that you were able to pull out of the other bus? Even the headliner?
No, the headliner we had to construct.
Okay.
But the racks were there. We had to put all the material inside the racks.
Okay.
And we had to put all the roofing material up. And nothing.
But the bows were from the other bus. These, or did you have to manufacture?
These.
What about the chrome strips?
We also built. No, the chrome strips are original. They are from the.
That's so cool.
They are from the other vehicle, or from the other bus. It was a bit of a struggle. It didn't exactly bolt right in, you know. I mean, they were hand designed, they were hand built. I mean, and they were built for the vehicle that they were putting them in. And I'm going to guess that back then they actually fit it. They actually put it in, marked it, removed it,
cut it,
put it back. Gotcha. So I mean, it was actually built, hand built, one at a time. In a way that it fit that vehicle, and so it took us a little bit of maneuvering to make them fit this vehicle.
Now you were telling me, we heard the story earlier about you've taken this to different bus groups, different gatherings.
Yeah, many. We take it to a lot of events. We've taken it 2 or 3 times to commemorate some special events at the Hibbing Greyhound Museum, which is where it's from, which was really cool because we got to bring it back to its roots,
right
back where it was in the 40s. And so we brought it there a couple times, and we've had some bus enthusiasts and clubs come here, and we try to bring it to the cities we service. We try to bring it to Eden Prairie events and Carver events and Victoria events.
Yeah.
And
when you get there, though, you were saying that you have people that not are just enthusiasts, but they, at one point in their life, they'd been on a bus similar to this, and you can just see the memories and even sometimes the emotions just flood over them. Because you were telling me about when the fellows come back from the war, that they would be transported, like you were mentioning earlier, transported on their way home, and these folks are in their 70s, 80s, maybe 90s now, and they see a bus like this and how it just evokes so many memories of that time and what was going on at that time.
Yeah, that's probably to me, that was the most fun I had at the Hibbing Museum. I loved everything about it, but the most fun I had was giving rides to the people that had actually rode on these buses back in the 40s, and it was just amazing to hear the stories and for them to tell, and it was, it's just amazing. It was different time.
Well, and on that too, we have an unconfirmed legend about this bus that maybe some famous Minnesotan singer at one point may have ridden on this bus. Tell me a little bit about that. And it's unconfirmed, but I'm going to help perpetuate the rumor.
Well, again, it's coming second or third hand information, but we had this bus at a group with a bunch of bus enthusiasts, and they were pulling the numbers off it because there wasn't a whole lot built. It isn't like seeing a Camaro today or a bus today. I mean, there's so many of them around. So these buses are all, the VIN numbers are short, and the last 3 or 4 of the 4 of the VIN are going to be your production number of the bus. Well, we had one of the guys from the bus enthusiast group were looking at the VIN number, and he said, "I drove this bus." And I said, "Really?" And he's like, "I drove this bus." And he said, and I'll tell you what, he said one of the passengers on this bus was Bob Dylan. Now, again, this is coming from somebody who said they rode the bus. So
this is our unconfirmed rumor.
I don't advertise it because I can't confirm it, but that's what was said. And I don't think it's that hard to believe. Right. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, we were still using, the busing for a lot of stuff, and I guess I don't find it to be.
He could have very well ridden a bus, whether or not it was this exact one, we don't know. I'm gonna help perpetuate that rumor. So we're gonna continue to spread it. So that would be pretty cool. The next thing is, if we had some confirmation on that from someone, or if we were able to pick out and say, you know what, this was Bob Dylan's favorite seat.
I'll take pictures. It's got pictures. Send me pictures.
Yep, we don't know that, but wouldn't that be awesome if we could ever, actually document something like that? So, what? You said you've been with the company here with Southwest Transit. You've been 13 years?
13 years, yeah.
Right. So, when you said the bus was here when you joined the company.
Yeah, the bus was here, and a lot of the interior work was done to the bus. I mean, the bus was still had what they call horsehair wiring, which was the old school wiring with people think of wire today, and it's got nice plastic outside too. Well, the old wiring was actually a weaved horsehair. Yeah. So for safety reasons, we got rid of the horsehair wiring and rewired it, and of course we converted it to an alternator again for safety. Okay. We converted power steering because it's a safety feature, and then we also added a larger air compressor and more tanks for more capacity. To make the brake system more effective. Most of the interior was done with the exception of electrical wiring, the dash paneling, when I started here. So they'd already undertaken that part of the project. The bus was drivable when I started here, but we've done a lot to it since then.
Well, I take it, I can hear that there's quite a bit of pride in your voice over this vehicle.
Oh, absolutely. It's safe
to say this is kind of your baby?
yeah, I've always taken pride in this vehicle and doing good work to it, and it's also presented me with challenges that I respect, like the challenge to fabricate parts and everything. It's a challenge that I don't get very often on newer equipment. The newer equipment's parts are all available. Everything's in a book. Everything's online.
Right.
This is a completely different deal. This is a challenging endeavor.
So what thrills you more about this, being able to put your skills to task with fabricating parts, or knowing that you're kind of a caretaker of this piece of history?
It's really tough to say. I mean, I take pride in the work that I do to it, but I also take pride in the fact that we've kept this bus. But I think what I enjoy most about this bus is when it's at events, and the fact is, it doesn't matter if somebody's 3 or somebody's 90. They can't wait to get on this bus, and to me, that is what really brings me the most joy, is that it transcends time, it transcends age. You don't have to be a bus person to love this bus.
You don't have to be a car guy.
Don't have to be a car nut to love this bus. Children love this bus. They can't wait to get in here. In fact, when we take it somewhere, before I can even get it opened up, people are asking me, can we go on it? Can we go on it? It's like, absolutely. That's why it's here. But that is what excites me most about this bus.
That is so cool. Okay, one of the things we always ask people about a classic vehicle is, you know, their owners, but I think you have pride of ownership of this. It's not in your name, but you have pride of ownership because it's your baby, and you've done so much to it. What is, and because it's such a big vehicle, I'll give you 2. What's your 2 favorite things about this bus?
Boy,
I'll put you on the spot. I know.
No, that's tough, because I like a lot of things about this bus. What's my 2 favorite things?
You know, it can be an emotional or it can be a mechanical thing. It doesn't matter.
Well, I tell you, probably my favorite thing about this bus is probably actually driving it around, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That's probably my favorite part of this bus, because it's like nothing else.
Right, right. You can't beat that feeling.
Really, truly is. It probably the second favorite part of this bus to me is the AC unit, because I had so much to do with the engineering and the fabricating and the building of this bus.
Right. Because you were talking about earlier how, you know, the brackets that you had to actually, you had to look at it, figure it out, and make the brackets, because again, those things weren't available
everything
anymore.
was made, and the problem with that is I couldn't even find photographs to show me how things were constructed, and the handwritten service manuals aren't. I mean, the service manuals are all hand drawn, and you know, I mean, from back in the day. So they weren't really good at showing details and showing things like that. You know what? Maybe my favorite part of this bus in general is, like I said, this bus brings people together. My favorite part probably is the fact that this bus is a magnet for all people. I mean, 3 to 20 to 50 to 90 years old, everybody loves this bus, and that's probably my favorite part of this bus.
Well, and the cool part about that, and one of the reasons that Nathan and I like to do these stories, is we've talked about this before when we do the classic car stories. The cars are cool, the people are cool, but it's how they transcend ethnicity, economic stature, you name it. It's just something for us, and in this environment, it's really something for everybody to actually come together over.
And it is.
And agree to something that this is cool, this is awesome. And I used that word a couple of minutes ago because it is a rolling piece of history, but you guys, just like so many other car collectors out there, you're caretakers of a moment in time. And you know, a lot of people collect because they're one of cars or 2 of cars, and they're worth tens of millions of dollars. But there's also a lot of people that just collect, and I've met this fellow, and it's on our YouTube channel. His mom had a Ford Escort EXP. Remember those in the 80s?
Yeah.
Who would collect that, you think? But he did.
Plus some sentimental value.
And it means something to him, and that's something to coalesce around, because you get to tell those stories, and that's what we like, and that's why I wanted to come out here today. Obviously, the company Southwest Transit is a fantastic company. I was telling the CEO earlier, and we're going to talk to him as well, but I was telling him that they really got a great brand. I've used the bus service several times. I'm a raving fan. Anybody that I talk to that says they're going to use in the metro area. And so you got to use Southwest. They're a great company, and I'll give you that shameless plug. Not why I'm here. We're here to talk about the bus, but it is a great company, and what they're doing to preserve this history and to be that caretaker is a phenomenal story, and that's why we wanted to tell it. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I love your passion. I can see it in your face, and you'll see it when you see the video. You have a passion for this bus. I do. That's what we absolutely love, and we can tell that you love it, and that's the important part here, and that's the story we always want to tell. So thanks for watching, folks.